Welcome to my latest video in the Making Your Business Less Dependent on You series based on the book of the same name. Last week I talked about your ultimate destination and in particular management buyouts. This week we're going to start talking about selling out to a third party. There's no doubt there is a huge amount of money out there looking for businesses to buy. Maybe a business like yours, or maybe your business is not the sort of business that someone wants to buy. If it's too dependent on you, then it won't be. If your goal is an outright exit with a sale to a third party, then you will need to find a buyer. There are a few possibilities here, so let's run through them. It might be someone you know, and there are a surprisingly high proportion of sales that are made on that basis. It could be a customer of yours who wants to incorporate your business into theirs, or a supplier who wants to move up the supply chain. It's more likely to be a competitor, of course, and there's a code for this, which is to get in touch with them and suggest meeting for a coffee. It could, of course, be someone that we know at A4G. We've got a wide network of clients and associates. But of course, it's quite possible that you might need to go out and look further afield. The best way to do this is via a specialist broker, but you will need to be wary. There are a lot of brokers that charge ongoing monthly retainer fees in addition to a large commission at the end. You might get sold the dream that they're going to help make your business more ready for sale, but in my experience, they have very little knowledge of that aspect of things. What they do have is a mobile phone with lots of numbers in it. A good specialist broker will know all the potential buyers of a business of your type. Like a good estate agent, their skill should be in matching up the aspirations of the two parties. But also, like a bad estate agent, they often engage in talking up the price when they're trying to get you to sign up and then talking down the price when there is a buyer on the scene. We'll go through the sale process at a much later date, but in the meantime, it's worth considering who these buyers are. It's no big secret that Britain has been running a large trade deficit for decades. But where does all that money go? There are lots of countries in the world that have a trade surplus with us. But what do they do with all that sterling? There are only so many Premier League football teams to go round. A lot of that sterling goes into large investment funds that put money into various private equity funds who then invest in UK industry. Let me give you an example of one industry where that's happened. If you have a pet, you're probably aware of how much vets' fees have increased in the past few years. A4G, we've had a ringside seat to this story because one of my partners, Josh Curtis, specialises in acting for independent veterinary practices and has helped with the sale of many of those businesses over the past 10 years. What's happened in the vets world is happening in lots of other industries as well. It starts with a relatively small private equity company buying a seed business in a particular industry. So in this case, one vet's practice. The structure of the deals thereafter is remarkably similar no matter who the private equity company is. The price is usually based on a multiple of EBITDA plus surplus cash. EBITDA, by the way, stands for earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization. It's a definition of the profit that is turning into cash fairly quickly. It's hard to explain it any better than that in layman's terms, so just take my word on that. Anyway, I'll talk about how to value your business in a much later episode, but in the meantime, let's get back to the deal. Usually, the private equity fund will buy 75% of the shares and we want the owner to roll their other 25% ownership into the new company, which is doing the purchases. And often, carry on working in the business, by the way. That might not be what you're looking for. Anyway, the money for these deals will be a mix of investment from one of those investment funds we talked about earlier and bank lending. Once the first deal has been done, the private equity company now goes on the acquisition trail, buying up other businesses in the industry to consolidate them together. They will usually leave those businesses operating fairly independently, doing things their own way for a couple of years so as not to upset the customers. Then in year 3 and 4, they will start the process of consolidating the businesses together, looking for cost savings in order to increase profits. At the same time, they'll put up prices. Price gouging was the term used by the media recently in the vets world. In year 5, they go looking for a buyer because larger companies are deemed to be a lower risk. That means they can usually get a higher multiple of EBITDA. Sometimes it doesn't work, of course. Lack of industry knowledge can cause the business to fail. Or sometimes one consolidator swallows up another smaller consolidator. If you're one of those who have sold into the model, then you potentially get 2 bites at the cherry, one for the original 75% and later for your shares in the consolidated business, if it succeeds, of course. Of course, private equity are not the only buyers in town. The best deals can come from selling to a listed PLC. They may be operating at a multiple of 15 times profit. So if you can sell your business to them for 8 or 10 times profit, they boost their share price and you've got a fantastic deal. Whoever the buyer is, though, the one thing that will put them off will be an overbearing owner whose presence is felt in every aspect of the business. They may still want to buy, but they will be keen to get that owner out of the business as soon as possible, provided they can reassure themselves that doing so won't destroy the business in the process. Hopefully now you've got the big picture of where you might be aiming at and the importance of making your Hopefully now you've got the big picture of where you might be aiming at and the importance of making your business less dependent on you. Next week, we'll talk about how to pick the first thing we're going to tackle on this journey.